Hello and welcome. My name is Alex and I make videos. And today we're going to talk about one of those videos. A few years ago, my wife and 3 of her friends started a nonprofit called the Nursery Project. The mission of the Nursery Project is to mobilize communities to meet emotional, financial, and physical needs of families that are facing hardships bringing a child into their home. Some of those hardships could include like an adoption, how maybe it goes really slow, but then right at the end it gets really fast and the family needs a little help getting things ready, or maybe an early birth of a child, or maybe a child that they know is going to be born with some health problems and they're going to spend some time in the hospital for a while. So those hardships are met by just rounding up their community around them to maybe help pay medical bills or just show that they are loved, or maybe it is actually building and designing a nursery for the baby. If you're interested in finding out more about the Nursery Project, I'll leave a link below. The way that I serve in the Nursery Project is through video. So I may not always be available to swing a hammer or run a paintbrush, but I can show up with a camera. So generally for most projects, we'll make 2 videos. The first one is like an intro video where we introduce the family, we tell their story, tell what their situation is, and how other people can get involved in that and become a part of it. Because some of these families may not have a huge network of people, so that's why where the Nursery Project steps in. But telling a good story helps people connect with this family and maybe make the decision to say, I want to be a part of this project. I'm going to serve in some way. And the second video is like the reveal video. It shows maybe the work that was done, shows off the finished product. We also want to wrap up that story of the family to say, here's where they are now, and give some conclusion to their story. This latest project was for a young couple that were expecting a baby, and they were going to remodel their upstairs of their house. So one room would be a nursery, and one would be a guest bedroom. And in the middle of that renovation, the baby was born very early. So it kind of froze all their plans. So while the family was still at the NICU, we met them down at the hospital to capture their story. And if you've ever been to a hospital, you know that it never stops. So that it's really hard to find a quiet place there. But we did the best we could, tried to find the best light, just to be able to capture their story and have them tell us what their plans were for that room and how things changed when this baby was born. But I'll let them tell a little bit of their story, so watch this.
So when we found out that we were pregnant, we got started working on those rooms. The home that we live in is it's the home that I grew up in. We purchased it off of my parents, and it was built in 1907, so it's very old. So we knew when we bought it that it would need a lot of renovations.
The initial plan was to have the house completed before we got pregnant, but then we had a little surprise. Then it was like, well, we got this long to get just the nursery done. And then December 11th came and it kind of
That's when things changed.
threw us for a little shock.
So we were only 25 weeks along at that point, so we didn't really know what to expect. So it was just like any other day. We woke up, let the dogs out, we started getting ready for work. But around 9:52, my symptoms had gotten so bad that I knew I needed to go to the emergency room. A doctor came in and she kind of talked to me a little bit about it, but she said she was going to do an ultrasound to take a look at the position of the baby. So she did that. She determined that the baby was breech. And so she gave me a couple of different scenarios. She said it's either this and we might be able to keep you pregnant for a couple more weeks, or it's this, in which case we would do an emergency C-section. And so she did an exam and determined that I was fully dilated by that point. And so she looked at me and she said that they were going to take the baby. And so it was 1:39 p.m. In the afternoon, and we delivered a baby girl. Mm-hmm. That was a surprise. We had chosen not to find out the gender, so that was a surprise. 1 pound, 10 ounces, so she was pretty small. We hadn't decided on a name yet. We thought we had a few more months to do that, and so the first few days after all this happened, that's kind of what we spent doing. So we finally decided on a name. Her first name is Caroline. which means a small, strong woman. And then her middle name is Grace, which means in God's hands.
So because they were going to be staying in the hospital for the next couple of months, that's where the Nursery Project steps in. So they start designing and planning and organizing how this work is going to be done. Meanwhile, rounding up and mobilizing all the volunteers that are going to be needed to do this. So for weeks, tons of volunteers are spending late nights at this house, putting up drywall, putting in air conditioner units, painting, putting furniture together, and just preparing this space for the family to come home. But one thing that's kind of fun in most of these projects is we try to keep the family out of those rooms so that they don't see any of the work that's being done until it's all finished. So what you'll see in this second video is volunteers putting those rooms together, getting them ready, and the finished product, but also seeing the family see these rooms for the very first time. And on a personal note, these projects are the most rewarding thing that I'm a part of. These families allow us into their house to shoot video of things, and during a time that's like not great for them, but we get to tell these stories, and that I love doing that. I feel like this is an intersection of things that I'm passionate about and gifts that I have. And so if you're a video person and there's something that you're passionate about, I would encourage you to find something that has great stories to tell, some organization, some church, somebody that's doing cool things out in the community. Find a way to find that intersection between something you're passionate about and the gifts that you have.